Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the SWUS MLB Sunday. We got 15 games on the board. As far as Saturday, I had a great one. Went 5-1 on Saturday. So I followed up an excellent Friday night with an excellent Saturday. Back-to-back huge days for me. Hopefully that continues. Yeah, we got 15 games on the board for Sunday. Let's do it.
Welcome to the SWUS. The SWUS. Hey, get the SWUS.
First game I'm going to go through is Toronto at Seattle. I'm actually only going to go through 2 games in this video. It's Saturday night. I'm the only one in the office. I don't have a staff here today, so I'm only able to get through 2. But I'll be up late in the Discord. We've been doing the live audio chat thing, going through all the games. So if you're in the Discord and want to join in on that, I'll probably be in there. We'll be going through all of them tonight. But as far as this video, I'm only going to go through 2. These aren't my favorite bets or anything. These are just 2 games that I thought people would want to hear about. So anyway, Toronto, Seattle. Mariners are pretty heavily favored here, minus 155 at home. Total sitting at 7.5. Good pitching matchup in this one. We got Jose Baros against George Kirby. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a slight lean on Seattle, 2.99 to 2.08 after 5 innings, and a slight lean on Seattle final score, 4.77 to 3.44. Actually, more than a slight lean. That's a pretty solid lean on Seattle. So before we get into this one, let's look at some ROI numbers. Seattle's definitely been a more profitable team to bet on this year than Toronto. Seattle's slightly above 0 on the season, plus 0.5%. Toronto minus 15.2%. But the fact that this game's at home in Seattle is huge because, as we know, the Mariners have been one of the most profitable home teams in baseball this year. Plus 16.3% ROI at home. Toronto on the road, minus 15.3%. So based on the ROI numbers, we should be trying to get to Seattle before we get into it. But let's get into the numbers here. We'll start with the Toronto bats. Last 30 days, slightly below average, 17th in WRC+, 21st in OPS, 18th in WOBA. Last 14 days, slightly better than that. Last 7 days, worse than that. As far as their numbers on the road, last 30 days, this is a bottom 10 lineup on the road. Last 14 days look better than that, but 14 days is a super small sample size when you're talking about home-away splits. As far as their numbers against right-handed pitching, definitely trending in the wrong direction here. In the last 30 days, they're a borderline bottom 10 lineup in baseball against righties. But look at the last 7 days, 29th, 28th, and 28th. So they look to be trending in the wrong direction as far as getting to right-handed pitching. If you look at their numbers against starters, last 5 righty starters that pitch against the Blue Jays, 4.32 ERA and a 1.32 whip. So not completely terrible. They're not getting blanked by righty starters, but not really doing much either. And when you pull up the game logs, you could see all these numbers are being skewed by one game. They smacked Spencer Arrighetti around, 10 base runners, 6 earned runs in just 4 innings. Other than that, they're not really getting to the names on this list. They didn't get to Blanco, didn't get to Hunter Brown, didn't get to Garrett Cole. They got to Marcus Stroman back on June 28th. Before that, didn't get to Winkowski. So as a whole, Toronto not really a lineup we can trust to get to righty starters. And it's not just any righty starter they're matched up against in this one. It's George Kirby, one of the hottest pitchers in baseball. On his last 5 starts, he's got a 1.67 ERA and an 0.84 whip. Truly insane. He's been almost untouchable. And believe it or not, he's been even better than that at home. In his last 4 home starts, he's got a 1.07 ERA and an 0.87 whip. Truly crazy how good he's been. Here are his game logs. He just pitched against Baltimore. They actually touched him up a little bit. 8 base runners, but he pitched into the 7th inning, just 2 earned runs. It's a great start. But in comparison to his other starts, I guess, look at this. Look at these game logs. Find me the bad start on here. This dude has been so good. Now you can point to the quality of opponents here. You got the Rays, the Marlins, the Rangers on there, the Royals. Actually, the Royals in Kansas City are solid though. Oakland. But, he just pitched against Baltimore and pitched a good game. So, no, we're not doubting George Kirby. He's been good. But when you pull up his splits against top 10 and bottom 10 lineups, you can see he's done a lot of his damage against bad lineups. 29 innings pitched, 1.86 ERA, and an 0.97 whip against bottom 10 lineups. So it kind of confirms what we were seeing in the game logs. Still, George Kirby's been a beast, not trying to take anything away from him. Also, he's got much better numbers against righty bats. 2.44 WOBA and an 0.87 whip against righties this season. Toronto, as we know, righty-heavy lineup. They're actually projected to have 3 lefties in the lineup. Usually it's 2, but still, mostly righties. 4 of the first 5 hitters in Toronto's lineup will be right-handed. Also, George Kirby doesn't walk guys. On the season, he's got a 2.37% walk rate. That's crazy. Look at Toronto's numbers here. Against righties with a walk rate above 8%, they're actually one of the best lineups in baseball. But against righties that don't put guys on base, not good. So, I mean, all signs pointing towards George Kirby pitching a good game here. If you are looking to back Toronto, I mean, this is razor thin, but you can point at the pitch mix. His main pitch is the four-seam fastball, and Toronto's 16th against that pitch in the last 30 days. I mean, not much. Not much here as far as evidence supporting the Blue Jays bats getting to Kirby. All signs point to George Kirby pitching a gem here. But then we get to the other side, and we're looking at the Seattle lineup, and this is disgusting. In the last 30 days, this is a bottom 5 lineup in baseball, 28th in OPS. In the last 14 days, maybe even a bottom 3 lineup in baseball. As far as their numbers at home, kind of the same thing here. On the season, this is a bottom 5 home lineup. Last 30 days, bottom 5 home lineup. So they're not hitting at home, and their numbers against right-handed pitching just as bad. In the last 30 days, this is a bottom 10 lineup against righties. In the last 7 days, one of the worst lineups in baseball against right-handed pitching, and they're not getting to righty starters. The last 7 righty starters to pitch against the Mariners, 1.34 ERA and an 0.84 whip. The last 3, 1.04 and 0.87. So they haven't been touching righty starters. And if you pull up the game logs, it confirms it. I mean, who have they gotten to on this list? They didn't touch a single righty. This is the last 7 righty starters to pitch against Seattle. They didn't touch one name on this list. And by the way, this graphic doesn't include Yariel Rodriguez, who just pitched against Seattle earlier tonight. 6 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, 1 hit. 6 shutout innings, just 1 hit. So add another name to this list of righty starters that have blanked Seattle recently. So can Jose Baros do the same thing? Well, on the season, he has solid numbers, 3.63 ERA, 1.12 whip. Expected FIP's a little high, 4.50. But look at his last 4 starts, 6.26. 1.17 whip is still solid. But again, 5.80 expected FIP, indicating he's had a little, well, actually, he hasn't had good luck. He has a 6.26 ERA, so scratch that. As far as his numbers on the road, last 5 road starts, 6.35 ERA, but a 1.16 whip isn't bad. So letting runs up, but not letting guys on base at quite that high of a rate. Here are his game logs. You can see Houston got to him, pitched a great game against the Yankees. Then Cleveland got to him back-to-back starts. And remember, I was talking about this last time Baros pitched. He's been through the gauntlet, man. I mean, you got Baltimore, at Milwaukee, Cleveland, Yankees, Astros. I mean, that's a really tough stretch of games for a righty starter. So I've been saying I'm waiting for a buy low spot on Jose Baros. In fact, I backed him in his last start against Houston. I took Toronto first 5, and it hit, but it wasn't because of Baros. I think the score after 5 innings was 7-5 Toronto. Baros gave up 5 runs, but Toronto just scored more. Still, I think we have to give Jose Baros a little bit of a pass considering the teams he's had to pitch against. That's all. And when we pull up his splits against top 10 and bottom 10 lineups, it confirms what we're talking about here. When he's gotten the opportunity to pitch against bad lineups, he's been dominant. Against bottom 10 lineups versus righties this year, he's thrown 33 and 2/3 innings pitched, 1.60 ERA and an 0.95 whip. So he's been absolutely untouchable when he gets to pitch against bad lineups. He just hasn't gotten the opportunity to recently. That's why this start against an ice-cold Seattle lineup is huge for Jose Baros. This is going to tell us a lot about where he is as a starting pitcher right now. Now, Seattle's going to be loaded up with lefties like they always are. Actually, this graphic shows that they're only supposed to have 5 in the lineup. Usually it's 6, so I guess it's just 5 projected for this game. Still, that wouldn't really matter. Jose Baros, no significant righty-lefty splits, so nothing to take away from there. As far as his pitch mix, his 2 main pitches are the sinker and the curveball. Seattle 22nd and 16th against those 2 pitches in the last 30 days, so really not much to take away there either. As a whole on this side, I mean, I don't see any reason to put any sort of faith in the Seattle bats. I think Jose Baros is better than his recent numbers show, pitched against a lot of tough lineups, so I think he should deal too. I mean, George Kirby versus Jose Baros with 2 bad lineups. I mean, we might be looking at a 0-0 game after 5 innings here. As far as the bullpen matchup, edge definitely goes to Seattle. In the last 30 days, Seattle's back at 17th in ERA, but they're 5th in WOBA, 4th in expected FIP. Toronto, as we know, been struggling in the bullpen department this entire season. This has pretty much been a bottom 5 bullpen for a majority of the season. Offensively, against bullpens, you give the edge to Seattle here as well. Not that the Mariners have been setting the world on fire in the late innings, but they've still been better than Toronto, who's sitting at bottom 10, bottom 5 lineup in the late innings. So I definitely give the edge in the late innings to Seattle. And then you take into account the bullpen usage for Toronto. They used Chad Green and Trevor Richards earlier tonight in the win. Chad Green threw 27 pitches, and he's now thrown 2 of the last 3 nights. Trevor Richards threw 24 pitches. Now, I mean, Toronto's bullpen isn't going to be absolutely taxed or anything like that, but definitely more used than the Seattle bullpen. Not much to take away there, but just kind of confirms that Seattle will definitely have the advantage in the late innings in this one, which is why if I'm taking a side, it would have to be the Mariners, but minus 155, that's a crazy price. I mean, I'm not laying that kind of juice with a bottom 3 lineup right now. I mean, Seattle's just not hitting, so I won't be playing a side. Honestly, the total's sitting at 7.5 with these 2 starting pitchers against these 2 lineups. I think that might be even a little high. So I think I'd go under 7.5 or pass in this one. So yeah, give me under a pass. Next up, we got Boston on the road in Yankee Stadium. Sunday night baseball here. Yanks are favored at home minus 150. Total sitting at 8.5. We got Cutter Crawford on the mound for Boston. Luis Heel pitching for the Yanks. Let's take a quick look at the spreadsheet. And according to the model, we got a pretty solid lean on Boston here. 3.36 to 2.47 Red Sox. 5.50 to 4.28 Red Sox. Before we get into this one, let's look at some ROI numbers. And all of the Yankees' earnings are almost gone. Down to plus 1.6% ROI on the season. Boston's actually been more profitable than the Yankees now. Plus 5.8. Boston's definitely been more profitable in recent games as well. I mean, look at the last 10 games. Yankees minus 71.5% ROI. Yanks have also been ice cold at home. They've lost 5 in a row at home. Actually, they won tonight, so that streak is snapped. This graphic doesn't include tonight's game. The Yankees won 14-4, but you can see full season at home. Yankees below 0 here, minus 5.7% ROI. Boston's been very profitable on the road. In fact, this is the most profitable road team in baseball here in the Red Sox, plus 25.7%. So let's get into this matchup, and we'll start with the Boston bats. Definitely trending the wrong way here. In the last 30 days, this is a top 10 lineup, but last 14 days, last 7 days, looking more average. As far as their numbers on the road, they're looking great. Like we just mentioned, most profitable road team in baseball this season. On the year, this is a top 5 road lineup. Numbers pretty much look the same in the last 30 days, the last 14 days. Numbers against right-handed pitching also look solid here for Boston. Last 30 days, this is a top 10 lineup against righties. Same goes for the last 14 days, the last 7 days. Now, their numbers against righty starters don't look great. The last 7 righty starters to pitch against the Red Sox, 3.15 ERA and a 1.11 whip. So they haven't really been getting to righty starters. Last 4, 293 and 130. And if you pull up the game logs, Michael King, Randy Vasquez, Gosman, Chris Bassett, Frankie Montas. I mean, they got to Matt Waldron a little bit, but he's not even a typical righty. He throws the knuckleball. Yariel Rodriguez, that was the weather game. That game got suspended due to rain. So, I mean, of all the righty starters on this chart here, the only one they got to was Waldron, and he's not even a typical righty. So I think it's safe to say Boston not getting to right-handed starters right now. Which brings us to Luis Heel, and man, what can you even say about this kid? He's going through it right now. His last 3 starts, 14.90 ERA, 2.38 whip, and he was off to such a strong start. He was looking like an all-star for his first 10 starts of the season. The last 3 games, he's just really struggling. His last 2 home starts, he's got an 18.56 ERA, 2.81 whip. Here are his game logs. Reds crushed him. Grimace crushed him. Baltimore absolutely smoked him. And then before that was at Fenway. That wasn't even that great of a start either. 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, but he allowed 8 base runners in that start. So he only allowed 1 run, but by no means did he blank Boston. They were seeing him. And if you look at his splits against top 10 and bottom 10 lineups, it kind of tells the story here. I mean, done so much of his damage against bad lineups. 2.22 ERA and an 0.74 whip against bottom 10 lineups, but against top 10 lineups, 34 2/3 innings pitched, 5.45 ERA and a 1.30 whip. So he struggled when he's seen good lineups, and Boston on the road against righties, definitely a top 10 lineup. Also, Luis Heel is having serious problems with his command. His walk rate on the season is now up to 12.9%. Look at Boston against righties with a walk rate above 8%, one of the best lineups in baseball. So even another bad sign for Luis Heel here. Also, he's slightly worse against lefty bats, which is terrible against Boston because they're loaded up with lefties. In fact, 5 of the first 6 hitters in the Boston lineup are lefties. Not that these splits are insane. I mean, 281 WOBA, 124 whip. I don't want to exaggerate. They're not crazy, but he definitely is slightly worse against lefty bats. Boston loaded with lefties. Now, one thing I do like for Luis Gil here is he's very reliant on the four-seam fastball. Throws it 53.1% of the time, and Boston actually hasn't been seeing the fastball well, 20th. But his other two pitches are the changeup and the slider. Boston's first and second against those two pitches. So, I mean, there's just not much here if you're looking to back Luis Gil. I will say I really do think this Boston lineup is cooling against righty starters. We've seen the game logs, but, I mean, all these lefties and Luis Gil's look so bad. I don't know if I want to put my money on Luis Gil bouncing back. I think I need to see it first, but I do want to fade this Boston lineup, but I don't think I could do it here with Luis Gil pitching. On the other side, we got the Yankees bats, and man, in the last 7 days, the Yankees are a bottom 10 lineup. Looks like they're cooling off again. Yankees at home in the last 30 days, bottom 10 home lineup, which is crazy because they were so good at Yankee Stadium about a month ago. As far as their numbers against right-handed pitching, they look okay. In the last 30 days, pretty much an average lineup against righties. Same goes to the last 14 days, the last 7 days. Now, when you look at these numbers here, it looks like they have gotten to righty starters. The last 3 righties to pitch against the Yankees, 7.54 ERA and a 1.74 whip. But when you pull up the game logs, it's really just one start. Kevin Gausman, they crushed him into another planet. The other two, I mean, Frankie Montas, 7 base runners in 5 innings, 2 earned runs. Graham Ashcraft, 6 base runners in 5 innings. I mean, they didn't really, that's not a great start, but that's certainly not a bad start. So it's really just Gausman they got to. Other than that, 4 of the last 5 righty starters to pitch against the Yankees threw solid games. And you know what? Cutter Crawford's been pitching pretty well. In his last 5 starts, he's got a 3.16 ERA and an 0.90 whip. He started off the season strong, then went through a cold stretch. Looks like he's getting his shit together here. He's also been pitching well on the road. On the season on the road this year, Cutter Crawford's got a 2.70 ERA and a 1.07 whip. So he's been solid on the road. Last 2 road starts, 2.92, 0.81. Here are his game logs. I mean, you could see absolute gem on the road in Miami. Also threw a great game against this Yankee team. On June 16th, 6 innings pitched, just 4 base runners. Now, they scored 3 earned runs, so I'm sure they hit a home run or 2 in there. But 6 innings pitched against the Yankees, just 4 base runners. That's a great start. Threw a great game on the road in Cincinnati. Pitched a great game against the Phillies. I mean, the 2 games at the bottom of this chart here, Atlanta, Baltimore, he let up 4 and 5 earned runs, but look at the base runners. 7 base runners in 6 innings pitched, 6 base runners in 6 innings pitched. Those really aren't bad starts, man. So Cutter Crawford's definitely been solid. Now, when we look at his splits against top 10 and bottom 10 lineups, you can see he has struggled against good lineups, a 4.64 ERA against top 10 lineups. But can we even call this Yankees lineup top 10 right now? I mean, in the last 7 days, they're bottom 10. So I'm not really sure how to take these numbers here. Now, as far as righty-lefty splits, Cutter Crawford is much better against lefty bats, which normally against the Yankees would be a bad thing. Because rewind a month and a half ago, this was a righty-heavy lineup. But now with Stanton hurt, you got Ben Rice batting leadoff. All of a sudden, there's a lot of lefties in this Yankees lineup. 3 of their first 4 hitters, 5 lefties total. So the fact that Cutter Crawford has stronger numbers against lefties, that might help him here against the Yankees. Also, the Yankees seem to be cooling down against his pitch mix. Cutter Crawford throws the fastball, the cutter, and the slider. Yankees 12th, 10th, and 17th against those pitches in the last 30 days, so nothing scary there. As a whole on this side, I mean, do I blindly trust Cutter Crawford to go on the road in Yankee Stadium and pitch a great game? Not really, but the numbers are pretty clear that that's the move, that Cutter Crawford should pitch a great game. Now, baseball's not played on paper, so just because the numbers say he should pitch a good game doesn't mean he's going to, but I think the numbers are pretty clear that Cutter Crawford should have a favorable matchup in this one. Bullpen battle definitely goes to Boston all the way here. I'm sure you've heard the Yankees bullpen has completely fallen off a cliff. In fact, in the last 30 days, the New York Yankees have arguably the worst bullpen in baseball. I mean, the second worst. 29th in ERA, 29th in WOBA. Boston's sitting close to a top 10 bullpen in the last 30 days. Offensively, against bullpens, it's pretty much a wash. Both these offenses have done a good job scoring runs in the late innings. So definitely give the edge to the Red Sox in the late innings by the simple fact that their bullpen's been way better. Now, if you're looking for a player prop in this one, it's Sunday Night Baseball, so we can try to find something. I'm looking at David Hamilton here. He's going to be batting second in the Boston lineup. All the way down 335 expected WOBA against Luis Gil's pitch mix. So we might be able to get a good price on a David Hamilton under. So what I did was I went over to Outlier to see if I can find something. Insight type, player prop, games, Yankees, Red Sox, players. We're searching for Hamilton. And then let's go with like minus 150 or better. And the only thing we got here, David Hamilton has exceeded a half run in 4 of his last 5 games on the road. Not what I'm looking for. But you know what? We said it was a favorable matchup for Cutter Crawford. Let's look at a Cutter Crawford prop here. Actually, I can just search for him. Cutter Crawford. Let's look for minus 150 or better. What do we got for Cutter Crawford? Cutter Crawford has exceeded 15.5 outs in 6 straight games on the road. Okay, I like that. Cutter Crawford has exceeded 1.5 walks. Cutter Crawford has failed to exceed 2.5 earned runs in third. Let's go with this one. Cutter Crawford has exceeded 15.5 outs in 6 straight games on the road. So let's click on that. All right. Looks like he's hit it in 5 straight. Let's go last 10. Last 10, he's hit it 9 out of 10. Okay. Prop Beaver usually does this stuff. He's a lot better on here than I am. But this is looking pretty good. So, yeah, Cutter Crawford, minus 109, over 15.5 outs. Thanks, Outlier.
I shut the camera and all the lights off before I even recorded my game pick. I forgot to include it. So, I like the under in this game. I want to fade the Boston bats. I truly think the Red Sox bats are cooling against righty starters. You saw the game logs. The problem is, do I really want to put my money on Luis Gil? And also, there's definitely a chance the Yankees get to Cutter Crawford. So, it'll be under or pass for me here. I feel bad. The 2 games I picked, I didn't know this when I picked them. Don't really like either of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be betting the Giants money line. Looks like you can get a plus 112. I feel bad that the 2 games I picked for the video were both games I didn't really like. So I want to make sure I include a bet in here. I do like the Giants money line. Cleveland got the win today. It was shaky. The only reason I backed them today, Cleveland was my favorite bet, was because they were up against a lefty starter, which they've been killing. If you've been watching the show, you know that this Cleveland team hasn't been hitting righties the same recently. This Birdsong kid can deal. Meanwhile, the Giants got their bullpen rested, getting plus money here. And it's Carlos Carrasco pitching for Cleveland. Need I say more? Giants have been actually been better against righty starters than they have against lefties recently. So sorry, I messed up picking the games. I thought I would like a bet in those games. Turns out I didn't. But I am on the Giants money line.
Obviously, on the live show, we'll go through all 15 games on the board. That's at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I think it's just going to be me and Toast. We'll go through all 15 games. If you're able to make it, we'd love to see you in the comments. If you want to join in, we'll be doing some late night capping in the Discord. If you want to get in on that, usually goes on to about 3 a.m. every night going through the baseball game. So I'll see you in there if you're going to be in there. If you want my top bets or top bets from anyone on the staff here, head over to KyleKirms.com, sign up for Sauce Network Plus. Comes with the top bets, access to the Discord, and you can participate in the weekly betting league. $100 and a trophy go to the winner every single week. So head over to the website and sign up if you're interested. Let's have ourselves a nice Sunday. It's been an excellent Friday, excellent Saturday. Coming into Sunday with serious momentum. Let's finish the weekend off properly. Remember to bet responsibly, and I'll talk to you in the Discord.